Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. It's Wednesday, August 27th, 2025, episode 475, and we're going to talk about property tax. I've talked about it before, I think, but talk about property taxes, Scotland, and Venezuela. Okay, so Mitch Vexler. Oh, before I I'm sorry. Um, yeah, it's looking really bad for me doing a daily episode once school begins. Um, we'll see, but I think it's really time is really getting tight. There are so many things I have to learn, like the school system. It uses that set of Google Classrooms, all this other kind of stuff, which I never had to do in university and the last 2 years teaching at a different middle school because it was much smaller and this is a much bigger school. I'm required to learn all this stuff and yeah, more than the material, it's this kind of administrative stuff, which is really going to eat a lot of my time. I'm not even that computer illiterate. I mean, I'm doing podcasting, right? I don't have technical support. I'm just doing everything myself, but yeah, just that. And then doing the assignments, uploading the assignments, grading homework. Oh my gosh, I'm almost, I'm almost getting panicked. And none of it has to do with the actual teaching. It's the record keeping. It's all that stuff, which is driving me nuts. It's just crazy. Anyway, so I'm going to do my best. But please understand, like tomorrow is open house, so I have to be at the school and entertain parents. So I don't know. We'll see how things go. I'm going to do my best. Uh, but if there is no episode, well, you know why. Okay, so let's get to it. So I came home and my wife was listening to this podcast episode, and she said, "You got to listen to it." And so ITM Trading Inc. Um, Daniela Camboni is doing her thing on that channel now, and she interviewed Mitch Vexler, and the title of the episode is Massive Property Tax Fraud Exposed, 5.1 trillion bond scam will crash system. So there's technical stuff that I'm not really so familiar with. So if I get some of the details a little bit wrong, then forgive me. But I'm just going to try to give you an overview. So the episode begins by stating that property tax as such is not legal and it's not in the Constitution. In fact, Constitution says you cannot tax people's property. Um, but they do. And the question came up, who started it? But there was no answer. But now everyone does it, right? Everyone is assessed a property tax. And I guess someone thought it was a good idea. They got away with it. And so everyone else just jumped on board. I'm sure they made a good case. It's for the kids, and so everyone just went along with it. So the problem with this is that assessing the value of the property on which property taxes are calculated, is arbitrarily raised in many places to increase tax revenue. I know I've talked about this before, but the big city that I live outside of, but just outside of, they do this all of the time. They do it to force people out of their homes. They do it to increase revenue, whatever. So, in fact, sometimes they'll assess the property value really, really low and then cry eminent domain, give them a small check and say, you're on your way. But anyway, all of this manipulation is clearly it's unjust. But I thought, oh, they stack the system so that they can have some kind of legal loophole. Well, this lawyer, Mitch Vexler, he's going after Houston in Texas. I guess he lives around there. And he is, suing, uh, I think Houston for the whole property tax phenomena. Um, and apparently, what is happening, and this is the way I understood it, based on the property values in a particular school district, they borrow money, right? They create a bond for millions of dollars, right? So, and it's the collateral would be the property values of the homes in the district. And this is the way I understand it. I'm sorry, but and this is why having high property values works to their benefit because then they can borrow more money. Um, so, but it's gotten out of hand. And usually they'll justify the bond because they're building a new building or something like this. But the problem is that it's gotten out of hand. And in the case of Houston, they're borrowing more money simply to pay the interest on the money they borrowed before. And so it's going crazy. And so if the economy tanks, property values go down, then all of these, I think there's a margin call or you have to pony up more money. And the bond, which was issued by the bank, then goes underwater, right? So they lent them all this money based on the property value, but the property value isn't there any longer. And so then the bond, goes bust. So he basically says if you want to know how much your district owes, look up, basically say, how much does you put in the name, right? New York or San Francisco or whatever. How much does my school district uh, owe, right? What is the debt of my school district divided by the number of houses in the school district? So I looked up my own neighborhood, and it turns out that each house has $22,600 of debt based on the bond. And he said that it's much more than the reported value. You have to go really digging really far to see just how much they've borrowed. The district next to me is much, much larger, and each house there owes $14,000 per house. Uh, but it's kind of crazy that the debt is this big. So I think that local governments learn the ways of the federal government, and they're going into massive, massive debt. Superintendents are largely the reason why there's so much debt, and they have seminars where you have superintendents who got away with it, giving seminars to teach other superintendents how to get away with it. And all of this is approved by the governors of each state. And so here we have a huge problem of debt. So the federal government has $37 trillion in debt, which is not all of the debt of the federal government, but just the debt of the running budget. It doesn't include unfunded liabilities. So it's a small tip of a very large iceberg. The local debt I think he tries to approximate ballpark the debt of school districts all across the country, and he's saying it's 5.1 trillion, but he's saying it's very, very conservative. And he adds that there's a lot of unreported debt, and then there's derivatives on top of that debt. And so it could be north of $17 trillion, which is staggering, right? Um, so that is a time bomb ready to explode. So there's that. That's something depressing. You might want to check your own school district, local school district, to see if they are doing the same kind of thing. And I keep talking about my local school district. Like, why are they spending? Where are they getting all this money that they're hiring all these people? As creating new positions where we didn't need them before, but now all of a sudden we need them. I don't know. It was just odd to me. But now I realize, yeah, politicians generally try to find reasons to spend more money. So there it is. The next story I wanted to look at was, so it was really interesting. You should probably listen to it yourself. And everything that I did wrong just now, said wrong, you can correct me. But the bottom line is that because of schools in school districts, uh, basically small areas of the United States are in massive debt. right? So it's not just the federal level, but it's the local level as well. Then the next story is about that Scottish girl that was attacked by a migrant. Um, so she brandished an axe and a knife. It looked like a kitchen knife, and she was arrested, right? So this what her mom said. So someone reportedly said they talked to the mom, and this is what happened. So what happened was the girls went out just walking, and the man in the picture made comments to Lower, the younger girl, calling her sexy and other sexual remarks. Then the girls started to tell this man to leave them alone and stop following them and making sexual remarks to them. After that, the man's sister, oh, sister, I thought daughter, also in the picture came around the corner and physically attacked Ruby, the older sister. She grabbed her hair, dragged her to the floor, started to punch her. Then both the man and the woman, right, the sister of the man, were kicking her in the head while she was on the floor. At this point, my daughter, Maya, called the police. So my daughter's account after that is all a bit blurry. But that is when Lola had the weapons. She pulled them out to protect Ruby. After that, the man came back at Lola, recording her, making sure she showed the weapons to the camera, antagonizing her. Ruby was hospitalized after the attack with severe concussion, a tennis ball sized lump on to the back of her head, as well as lots of bruises. Right. And that's what the mom's side of the story was. Right. So it's kind of crazy. And you've seen the memes, maybe of a Braveheart kind of theme where William Wallace is now a 12-year-old girl. But, what boggles my mind, and I've seen stories like this, not just in Scotland, but all over England, Ireland, probably all over Europe as well. I don't understand the lack of justice, why law enforcement doesn't do anything. I would begin by arresting the politicians, right, who allow all of this stuff, who had the policy of, you know, allowing immigrants, illegals to come into their country. If I was, law enforcement, shouldn't there be a movement among law enforcement to do this? And shouldn't there be a movement among the military? Like, this is not right. And this is really when a coup is supposed to occur, when people who are pledged to fight for the welfare of the country sees all this injustice. They say, okay, forget about this government. We got to get rid of this government, and they take over the government. Are there not enough people in law enforcement and the military who are outraged enough that they would put an end to this? I just don't get it. I don't understand. Um, the lack of justice and the lack of sense of duty on people who enforce the wishes of the government. I just don't get it. But yeah, I think historically this is when the military just takes over the government. And I think they could easily do it. But what stops them? I just don't know. Then the last story I kind of wanted to look at, it's so outrageous. And I'm always so flabbergasted. I just can't. Like, if I was living there, I would get the heck out as soon as I could, right? It's just, yeah, there's no sanity left in any of these Western countries because they were trying to do it here in America too, and Trump got elected. So for now, anyway, put the kibosh on that. But now you have the problem on the other side where some people who supposedly are innocent are being deported as well. So I don't know. It's complicated. They shouldn't have been allowed in the first place. But and you see all the stories. They say, oh, they didn't do anything wrong, and so it's too messy. Um, then finally, Venezuela, Maduro there, apparently he's getting on the bad side of Trump. Um, and so the U.S. sends three destroyers to the region. Um, Oh, I think this is the title of the article that I looked at from CBS News. Venezuela deploys warships and drones after U.S. sends guided missile destroyers to the region. This is CBS News, August 27th, 2025. Three destroyers, right? Maybe they were guided missile destroyers, okay, and 4,000 Marines. And the reason is because of drugs. So they're saying to stop the drug flow, okay? But I saw another article and I just read the headline. It said that Venezuelans believe that it's an attempt at intimidation, but they're trying to stop the flow of drugs. And, I'm really suspicious of this because obviously just the whole drug war itself is kind of a farce. Drugs won. So why are we still fighting and talking about drugs? Um, but in the meantime, China's ambassador meets with Venezuela's Minister of Defense yesterday or within the last couple of days. And they talked about China taking over Chevron, which I think is an American company, Chevron's oil fields, right, in Venezuela, right? So once they had that communist uprising in Venezuela, they killed and chased out all of the people who could work those oil rigs, and now they're inoperable, right? No one's around to be able to use them, to manage them, etc. Now, if you were Venezuela, which country would you be more open to work with? The country that's trying to intimidate you and find excuses to invade you, threaten to invade you, looking for drugs, right? Okay, but really to undermine the government, to change the regime in that country as America has done all over the world, or cooperate with China, who is promising to reopen your oil fields so that now you have revenue, you have money now, you can sell oil, uh, and life might get better. And plus, then you also have the added protection of China on your side. So America has to think twice before they attack Venezuela. And this is a serious problem, right? And it's not just Trump, it's Americans in general. They believe they can just throw their weight around, bully people, intimidate people, because supposedly we have the best military in the world. But see, this is just so silly because China makes a lot of the chips that America needs for their weapons. China produces and exports most of the rare earths that are necessary for America to build its weapons. Um, America's weapons also are not the best anymore. I've talked about this before. American equipment and strategy also not the best anymore. At the very least, they're overwhelmed by numbers, right? So whatever superiority they might have, because the amount of money that's spent on them, there are just simply not enough weapons to fight against uh, other countries, right? The technology of Russia, China, etc. So it's very silly. Like, why does America, their first reaction is violence? It just, you see it in the streets, you see it in the government. It's very bad, right? Just today, we were talking about, um, trouble in the schools and how to handle it. And de-escalation, to my joy, de-escalation was a very big topic, right? It was the approach that is being suggested, right? So people freak out, you got to calm them down. And we're going to talk more about that on Friday, but that's something that is a lot that is lost to the American people these days. Like de-escalation never even enters into the minds of people, right? Is it really, is there no other side? Are we so brutish, low IQ that our solution to every problem is to send the military? I just don't understand it. And it seems like the West, that at one time was superior to other regions of the world because of its civility, perhaps, its respect to freedom, It's now just a dump. There's little freedom, which means that there's not a lot, like all the stupidity of the people who grab the power. Now everyone can see it. And so America is its own worst enemy. It incentivizes other countries to move away from America, to not do business with America, to not do deals with America. And where does that leave the rest of us? And it's not just the federal government, right? It's the local level as well. And God forbid if it starts to get like Scotland here in America. I mean, would it get that way? Would the people in America let it get that bad? Well, the city that I live next to, they let, you know, the drug crisis take over the city. It's just so weird. I can't I I can't explain a mentality that makes absolutely no sense. But why doesn't why aren't there enough other people to just storm City Hall and or appeal to law enforcement and say, no, we can't do this. It just really, and maybe it's because they're getting funding through these underhanded ways, and they're just trying to keep that Ponzi, that game going for just a little bit longer. I don't know. All of this will end badly, which puts more of the emphasis on us trying to break free of the system and trying to be ready in any way that we think is good for us, where we are, for the potential problems that might arise. That's it for this episode. I'll talk to you next time.